in that fashion, we are going to do AFC draft grades today. We will do NFC draft grades tomorrow, because this thing could stretch on quite a bit if we tried to do all 32 teams in one day. So we're going to hit the AFC first. Let's start off in the AFC East with the draft grades.
Yeah.
Where would you like to start?
We already know that.
Let's.
Are we going to do the best first?
Sure.
They had the highest pick in the AFC East, so we'll start with the New York Jets.
Oh, God. The New York Jets are Jeremy's big winner for the NFL draft. And it's hard to argue. It's hard to argue with anything that the Jets did in the draft. They get Zach Wilson, number 2 overall, Elijah Vera Tucker, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, the running back out of North Carolina. They picked up about 5 different safeties in the. Excuse me, it just started thunderstorming here.
It's
got really loud.
Please.
Holy shit, it feels like there's a plane taking off in here. Anyway, like I said, they picked up about 5 safeties in the draft as well.
No, they didn't.
And they've got an interesting take that Rob Saleh's going to use all these guys for.
Hamza Nasruddin and Jamie Sherwood. Mm-hmm. They're going to play them at linebacker, which is really interesting and kind of it's a new take on how to play defense. And I've said this, I think I've said this all year long. Receivers in the NFL are getting smaller.
Right.
They're getting faster. And it's starting to matter less and less how good you are against the run, because everything in the NFL is getting faster and smaller. So now you're taking 2 safeties at the big knock on them. The reason they went in day 3 was because they couldn't cover over the top. Cool. You don't have to now. You don't have to. Yeah. So now you've got these 2 Terminators that just lay pipe that are going to be playing outside linebacker for you. It's a very interesting draft. I never thought I could see a team do something that I had never seen before. That's something I had never seen before. And I was very confused on draft day because we took 5 defensive backs in a row. But now that I know 2 of them are linebackers, that grade went back to an A.
All right, so your best pick of the draft for the New York Jets, Elijah Moore, getting him in the 2nd round at 34 overall. So when we were watching the pick come down, you were originally targeting Tevin Jenkins, I think it was.
That's who I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And
what that tells me is that they feel the way that they actually mean what they've said about George Fant. Mm-hmm. They think he can be a right tackle in this scheme. They think this line is good. Now that you got Ali Vera Tucker and Mekhi Becton on the left side, George Fant and Greg Van Roten on the right. And I'm here for it. I will say, walking into this, Zach Wilson has better weapons and a better line than Sam Darnold ever did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I thought the Elijah Moore pick was 100% the home run hit of the draft for the Jets. Getting a first-team All-American wide receiver in the 2nd round is kind of crazy to me. We had him mocked as high as originally going like Tennessee.
22.
At 22. And the Jets just, they sat back and things fell out the way they did. We thought, maybe, which was crazy, we were even thinking Jabril Cox maybe there, and he just kept falling and falling and falling and falling. But, I mean, Elijah Moore is going to be, now you have Corey Davis, you have Denzel Mims, you have Elijah Moore, you have
Jamison
Crowder.
He's still going to be around.
Yeah. I mean, you have weapons to surround where you don't need to necessarily. That was something of concern for me with the Jets move going into this draft was, are they going to address that portion of it? Because I didn't feel like they went. I thought they were going to get 2 high-end receivers in free agency. And they got Corey Davis, but they didn't really go after anybody else. They might have, but they just didn't pick them up. So I wanted them to address that situation.
That's the thing that you've got to think about, that I feel like people boo-boo kitty this a lot with NFL teams. It doesn't matter what we want them to do.
Yeah.
We're looking at this from a broad spectrum of, you got to have receivers, you got to have this, that, and the other thing. Think about San Francisco. They have a lot of dudes that just do the same thing. It's a lot of Deebo Samuel, a lot of Brandon Ayuk, and that's what the Jets are now. Now you got Corey Davis, you got Elijah Moore, you got Denzel Mims, you got Jamison Crowder.
Yeah.
Then you got Chris Herndon playing tight end and Kenny Yeboah, a guy that they gave a payday to as an undrafted free agent. Mm-hmm. That's a high-end, wide-level tight end. There's nothing wrong with that. Now you've got weapons for days. The Michael Carter pick to me was the best value, one of the best value picks of the draft because he fits in the scheme better than any running back would have. I love everything the Jets did. Officially, in Joe D, I trust.
Riskiest pick of the draft always when you're taking a quarterback at the top of the draft, especially one that you didn't know a whole lot about a year ago.
Well, and that's a myth. That's not 100% true. The arm talent's always been there with Zach Wilson. There were injury concerns, and they hadn't played at a high level. So Zach Wilson was not some unknown. This wasn't like Joe Burrow, a guy that we didn't think was ever going to get drafted to the second pick of the draft. The Zach Wilson pick is the one thing I ding the Jets on. The A+ didn't come because Zach Wilson, because he is an unknown commodity. You don't know exactly what he is. And I'm not 100% sure that he's better than Sam Darnold, but I can tell you this definitively. For the next 5 years, he's cheaper than Sam Darnold.
And that's the thing that's going to be the most telling stat of that is that, Sam Darnold could get in this new system in Carolina and be an all-pro. And
I think he will.
Yeah, and there's going to be people out there that are going to start saying, oh, the Jets probably should have kept Darnold. But that's right there what Jeremy just said. It's the money. The money that you're not having to pay Sam Darnold, you're going to be able to, especially, and here's the thing, guys. 2 in round 1, 2 in round 2, 2 in round 3 next year.
Oh, they've only got 1 in round 3.
Oh, okay.
But I want you to think about what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
They're going to have stupid money again.
Yeah.
Cap space for next year, I don't remember exactly where they are, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
They have 12 picks next year.
Yeah.
As of right now, they have 12 picks.
And I got a feeling.
And that's what you do. With a young quarterback, you build the team around him. Joe D obviously showed that was he learned the mistake of his predecessor of not building around a quarterback like that.
Yeah.
So now you take the draft capital, you learn from the mistake, and you build with Zach Wilson. I would say no team has improved in the offseason more than the New York Jets.
Wow. And it would be very hard to disagree with that statement.
I think they're up there. They're definitely up there in what they have done in this offseason. I think the New York Jets have a lot, obviously, to look forward to with the new head coach, with the new quarterback, with a rejuvenated offensive line. It's a lot to like for the New York Jets. All right, moving to Foxborough.
Okay.
The New England Patriots.
Oh, boy.
The New England Patriots. So you give them a C- for their draft?
I don't love anything they did, if I'm being really honest.
Really?
I don't love anything they did.
Okay. It's all just average.
Mac Jones is as average of a quarterback. If you looked up average quarterback in the dictionary, it would be Mac Jones. It would be a picture of him smoking a heater next to Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts.
Right.
And you're going to get dinged for that. That's a full letter grade by itself. Oh, he came to us. Yeah, now you're tied to him. You're now tied to Mac Jones, who's a guy that we routinely said during the season, yeah, he could be a second or third round pick as a guy that's going to be a backup spot starter in the NFL. Well, that's your guy now. So now you're tied to, you now have the worst quarterback situation in the NFL, in my opinion. Name me a team that has a worse quarterback room right now than the New England Patriots.
The Denver Broncos.
I would take Teddy over.
I would take Teddy Bridgewater over all 4 quarterbacks, whether it's Drew Lock or the 2 New England guys. Yeah. Teddy Bridgewater's the best of the 4. Now, Drew Lock's the worst of the 4.
Yeah.
But I would still take Teddy Bridgewater's not going to beat me.
Yeah.
And I look at New England and I just go, I feel like Bill's going all in for one last push.
Yeah.
The problem is that you've never been bad enough to wind up with the quarterback.
Uh-huh.
And so I look at the defense. The defense is going to be good. The Barmore pick, I like Christian Barmore. I do not love him in this scheme. I understand they're multiple front and all this other shit. It's still a 3-4 team. He doesn't fit anywhere in a 3-4 at all. And you traded up to get him. Mm-hmm. Barmore's a guy I would love with the Browns. I would love him with, and now there's maturity issues. There's all kinds of things. I like that part of New England. That's the reason I didn't ding them too hard for this pick, because I think their system can make Christian Barmore. I think that if there are maturity issues and there's work ethic issues, Bill Belichick can get the most out of him. I don't think that's even debatable. I just don't understand how he fits in the scheme.
Yeah. You don't think
he's not a nose tackle?
You don't
under
think
any circumstances.
But you don't think he's quick enough, agile enough to play on the outside of the 3-4 front line?
I just don't think that's what he does. Where he made his hay was working over guards and working over centers. Mm-hmm. And now you're not going to be doing that. Is he fast enough to work the interior between a tackle and maybe? But I I don't know. I see him and Judon on the same side as two guys that have talent, but I think there's going to be excised expectations.
That was the Christian Barmore was their best pick. The riskiest pick, obviously, being Mac Jones. Although I don't ding them because they didn't have to do anything to get the quarterback.
No, and
they wanted to get one of the five.
One thing that I'm saying.
They stayed at 15.
Yeah.
They got Mac Jones. I think while he's not the quarterback that I would want of the future for my franchise, the fact that I didn't have to give anything up to get him is a win.
I think the Mac Jones pick is one of those picks where the immediate grade, when you look at it, it's going to be on the lower hand side. But in 3 years, if they find a way to win some games with him, when we regrade these guys in 3 years, there's a chance that he could actually be, let's just say, for example, and I don't think they're making the playoffs next year, but maybe the year after,
right,
with all these picks and all these guys that they're making, if New England ends up finding a way to get into the playoffs with Mac Jones at quarterback, I think that would raise this draft grade a little bit. I also love the Ronnie Perkins draft pick.
Ronnie Perkins is actually probably the best draft pick.
Yeah. And then Ramondre Stevenson, we talked a lot about him pre-draft just being a gigantic human being. I think this kind of, gives them a guy at the, that you don't have to. And let's say they're Cam's not running the ball into the end zone every time. Now.
Right.
We got a guy that can get in there, and like we said during the draft, he's going to be a guy that week 7, the rotating running back situation ends up with 2 touchdowns and 100 yards, and then he doesn't do anything the rest of the year.
Here's the net to me on New England. Is there any doubt they have? So there's 4 young quarterbacks in the AFC East. They have the worst one.
No doubt.
Not debatable.
Yeah, not even close.
They have the one without a doubt with the lowest ceiling. And I look at the receiving core. I mean, defensively, they're going to win games.
Yep.
There's no doubt. This defense is going to be markedly better.
Yep.
You've got the oldest coach by a lot. Bill Belichick's 20 years older than every coach in this division. You have the oldest way of thinking, and it's the Patriot way. I think that was made by Brady. Well, Mac Jones is not Tom Brady, no matter how many ways you want to try to slice this. He's not. So I look at this and go, I think 2 years from now, the New England Patriots are the worst team in this division. I don't know how you're going to get out of it.
Yep. The New England Patriots finished off last season 7-9 in the overall in the NFL, and I would not be surprised to see them as the worst team in this division this year. Although I still think 7, 8, maybe 9 wins.
7 and 10, 8 and 9 is what I see New England does. And I don't see it. I don't see anything that's going to change that.
Agreed. The up-and-coming threat to the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East division, the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, obviously, with Tua Tagovailoa going into his second year, they went with the number 6 pick, giving Jalen Waddle to Tua Tagovailoa, reuniting those two from Alabama, and I think that was no doubt their best pick of the draft.
I love the Jalen Waddle pick, but I think they said Penny so wrong.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the best way to help. And just think about this. All right, so you picked at 6. You had another pick at 18. Just take the journey with me. Let's say you take Sewell at 6. At 18, you could have had Elijah Moore, who's now in the same division with you. You could have had Rashad Bateman, who could have played on the outside. You could have had a series of wide receivers, but there's not a lineman here.
Yeah.
You took Liam Eichenberg in the 10th pick in the second round. And he's going to play right tackle, which means you're committed to Austin Jackson at left. So you'll slide Hunt into the inside.
Yeah.
Which way do you like this team better? With Penny Sewell as the left tackle and Elijah Moore as that slot guy that Jalen Waddle's going to be? Or with Jalen Waddle as the slot guy and Liam Eichenberg playing on the right side and Austin Jackson on the left side?
And that's the thing. The packaging of the 2 picks that you could have got instead of doing what you've done are going to be something that people are going to talk about, and we immediately talked about with the Bengals, and we're going to talk about that more when we get to it.
Right.
Bengals fans, don't worry. I have not forgotten you, and I'm coming.
Yeah. As much as I loved Hunter Long coming out in this draft, I just didn't see They have Mike Gesicki, and I get you can't have too many of one.
But they're the same guy.
Yeah.
That's my problem. I don't understand how you're going to play them together because neither one of them can block. I mean, Hunter Long's fine. He's not I don't know where this narrative that he was a great blocker came along. That's not fucking true. Like, at the end of the day, it's just not true. And I love the guy. He was on the Chase Claypool team, the 6 to midnight team. I mean, I love this guy. I don't love him here. I don't love this fit. I don't know how you're going to play these two guys together. People were talking about 2 tight end sets. Cool. Cool story, bro. Tell it again. I don't know how you're going to run with those 2 guys playing tight end. Mm-hmm. And then I look at the mixture of Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson, and now I'm just looking at it going, you're not going to be a good running team ever. Like, there is nothing that's going to change that. And he didn't have a running back.
Yeah, that's the one thing that
I would rather they took Javonte Williams at 18.
Yeah.
And trust me, coming from me, a guy that says never take a running back in the first round, only take special guys in the second round. I mean, the Jets got Michael Carter with the second pick of day 3.
Yeah.
They now have a better running back than the Miami Dolphins have on the roster.
Yeah.
And it's a guy. Why? I guess that's my question. Why would you not take somebody like Michael Carter instead of Hunter Long? You have got to have a running back. You don't have one. And so now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What do you do now?
That was
It's Myles Gaskin?
That was
okay.
the most
Good luck with
glaring thing coming out of the draft was Miami not taking a running back when it was a 100% position of need going into the draft. Mm-hmm. Myles Gaskin did things, but we talked about this during the draft, how he's more, I see Myles Gaskin being more of that third down back that can, catch balls out of the backfield. He did a really good job. And he's just not a really good in between the tackles runner. That's someone that you're going to need with Tua Tagovailoa to help out his progress. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. I'm trying to pull up their actual depth charts.
I've got it.
After Myles Gaskin, I don't know who they got.
Malcolm Brown. It's Malcolm Brown. That's it.
Yeah.
So you're going to be one of the worst rushing teams in the league with a quarterback that I think is slightly limited. Mm-hmm. Now you've got weapons for him, and that's great. I just feel like with the haul you got from Houston in the Laramie Tunsil deal, you should be more talented than you are. I shouldn't be looking at this team going, well, that's a hole.
Yeah.
Well, that's a hole. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a hole. Mm-hmm. Jalen Phillips. That's a risky pick. I'll be honest with you, Jalen Phillips was almost the riskiest pick because this is a guy that could take one more concussion and he might be done.
Yeah.
And you took him at 18 and you had glaring deficiencies that you could have filled there. Mm-hmm. I just don't love what the Dolphins did. Now, that being said, I do love that they added a shitload of talent.
Yeah.
This team is now super talented. It's almost like stringing a crime scene, trying to figure out where the bullet came from. I feel like I can do that with the Dolphins backwards, make 5 different picks, and I greatly like where this team's sitting better that way than the way it is.
Jalen Phillips should have been, in my opinion, the riskiest pick for them, taking him in the first round because of the injury issues. However, I also feel like it was, after Jalen Waddle, their pick that has the highest ceiling.
Oh, he was the best pass rusher in this class. Mm-hmm. The talent, the reason he wasn't the riskiest pick is because as long as he can stay on the field, I don't see any way that pick's not going to be good.
Right.
Hunter Long, I see a path where that pick's not good. I see a path where you're going to end up having to trade either Mike Gesicki or Hunter Long because you cannot play them together. And I don't get it. I don't get it. If you wanted a tight end that bad, why'd you not take Pat Freiermuth? He's a better blocker. Mm-hmm. Straight up. I don't like him as much as Hunter Long, value-wise. But I would have at least liked it a little better, or waited on Brevin Jordan, who fell forever.
Oh my God!
I just don't get it. That pick did not make any sense to me.
They might be the worst running team in the NFL right now.
There's no maybe. They will be.
But they are the second best team in this division, no doubt.
I think this division is so much closer than you do. I've just literally going through the 4 teams, and we're not even to the best team. We haven't even done the best team in the AFC East yet. I think 2, 3, and 4 are way closer than you do.
Yeah. And I think with the Jalen Phillips pick, I would have to believe that they did their homework on the medical part of that.
It's just the thing that makes them look worse is that so many of these medical red flag guys fell.
Yeah.
Jabril Cox.
Yep.
What was the one knock on him?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of an injury history.
Yep.
And he fell to the end of the world.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that Jalen Phillips wouldn't have fallen to the second pick or fourth pick of round 2?
Right.
I don't buy it.
It would seem that the way that the draft was going with some of these guys, but it was a little early to get into that narrative. But it seemed like it was someone they maybe could have gotten a little bit later with that pick that they had, where they picked Javen Holland with the 4th pick of the 2nd round. I kind of believe that Jalen Phillips might have been there, if not someone. I mean, the Giants ended up picking Azeez Ojulari like 2 picks later. Mm-hmm. So it's not like there wasn't an end of value at that pick where maybe you could have gotten even someone of like another tackle or somebody else at that position at 18. So that was it was a little weird, but again, we've just said it. These guys are talented, and they could be really, really good.
I think overall Chris Grier's done a hell of a job putting a team together here that Brian Flores can win with. I like the fact that they are kind of instituting this Patriot way down in Miami. Just play really strong defense, make some plays. Of course, it's all going to hinge on Tua Tagovailoa. The Buffalo Bills were the champions of the AFC East last year. I expect they will be the champions of the AFC East yet again this year, and the Buffalo Bills knocked it out of the park. Their first 2 picks taking edge rushers, I criticized it at the time, but now that I think back to it, I'm kind of going to what you said during the draft. Just get them all. Get all the edge rushers that you possibly can. Gregory Rousseau with their first pick, 30th overall in the first round, and then Carlos Basham Jr., the edge rusher out of Wake Forest, going to them in the 2nd round. Now, you've got that as their best pick, Jeremy, Carlos Basham Jr. Why do you think that's their best pick?
He's the safer of the 2. Carlos Basham, there's no doubt in my mind, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of people have talked about, they took 2 edge rushers. These are the replacements to Jerry Hughes, and I'm not as sold on that. I think Greg Rousseau is going to be a replacement to either Mario Addison or Jerry Hughes. I think they plan on playing Carlos Basham on the inside. And I'm going to like that a lot because that's going to mean you can get after quarterbacks with 4 guys.
Yep.
Ed Oliver, Carlos Basham, Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, and Gregory Rousseau. That's a rotation of 5 guys. You play 4 at a time. They're going to get after quarterbacks. I'm not sure that you're not going to get just demolished in the run game, though. That's my fear. The reason I like the Basham pick, he's better against the run than anybody I just said, and it's not close. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason I like the Basham pick. Now, Rousseau was he was universally said to be the most likely to bust player in the first round. Mm-hmm. I love the talent. I'm super high on the kid. I'm not dinging him for that. Mm-hmm. What I am dinging him for is that I almost had Spencer Brown as their best pick. And then it just got DeMar Hamlin is fine. Rashad Wildgoose, it's fine. This is one of those draft classes, and you see this every year. I feel like you added a bunch of guys that are going to have a role. I just don't know if you added an impact guy at any point.
Mm-hmm. And Buffalo was a team.
And in a division where all 3 of the other teams did, you're going to get dinged on that.
Yeah. Now, Buffalo was a team going into the draft that probably had they were probably top 5 in least needed people to continue the path that they're on. What we talked about was they needed to get after the rusher. I think they addressed that.
Agreed, but here's the thing that I don't think people are thinking about. With the Bills, you're going to have Josh Allen's getting the big deal. Yep. It's coming. Yep. I mean, you got one more offseason before you have to pay him.
Yeah.
So what you have to do with picks like this, that's why I like the Spencer Brown pick.
Yeah.
Spencer Brown to me is safe as shit. Because no matter what, you're going to find a spot for him because he's a 6'8" mountain of a man that's athletic enough. He'd be a guard. Worst case scenario, you just penciled in a guard for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
My fear when you go swinging for the fences like this, you take a guy like Greg Rousseau, and this is your 5th-year option guy this year. So this is your cheap talent when Josh Allen gets the deal. Well, Greg Rousseau is probably the riskiest player in this draft. High end is great. Low end is he's out of the league in 3 years because he showed up to his pro day looking like Fat Albert. And here's what that tells me. You spent a year away from the team and you gained weight and you were out of shape. What's going to happen when you get paid? Mm-hmm. So you get paid and you're telling me that you're going to work hard. You had not gotten paid and you were away from the team and somebody being on top of you and you plumped up. That tells me that you're likely to do that when you get the check.
Right.
Would you like to have seen a little bit more focus from them?
Safe.
On the
I would
offensive line?
when you're, and this is going to sound really strange because I agree with what he said.
Yeah.
That it's not that you need a whole lot of things. What you're going to need in a year when you have to pay Josh Allen, you're going to need cheap talent. Now you're running thin of that. I mean, there's a path where you look at the last 3 draft classes and go, you didn't necessarily add a whole lot of guys that are going to be cheap for the long haul, which means you're going to have to try to replace them in free agency, or you're going to have to take more swings in the draft. I just don't love that.
Yeah.
I don't love everything Brandon Beane did. Now, if it works, then, this is the grade that's the most volatile, at least in the AFC East. Because you could tell me 3 years from now that they get an A+ because they hit 2 premier pass rushers.
Yeah.
Spencer Brown's a starter on the offensive line, and Marquez Stevenson has a valuable role as a third wide receiver in this on this team.
Right.
Or you could tell me 2 of these guys are out of the league.
Yeah.
One of them's a rotational piece, and they had to draft another one to try to replace the one that's out of the league.
Mm-hmm. The Buffalo Bills, I think, are on the path to win the AFC East again. Another good crop. There are not too many bad classes of draft picks this
No,
year.
the thing that you're going to find is that I've never given out fewer Fs. I've never given out more A's.
Yeah.
This is the most A's I've ever given out.
Well, I think it was just the absolute depth